Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now today, a bit of a strange one, but it's a strange one for me because I really don't understand what really this is about. And it is one of these beers that a lot of hype and a lot of silly followers, mostly because of the hype rather than actually for the quality of the beer to a certain extent. So what we're basically doing is Siren Nitro Breakfast Stout. Yeah, an interesting one. Now this is about, I think it's just slightly over £3 a can. I presume it's going to be a nitrous pour. It's 6.5% and it's only a 440ml can, so apparently they can't go fully onto the 500ml. Apparently they seem to think they're special again, and what we give you is more than enough than you deserve for the money we're charging. So yeah, Nitro Breakfast Stout. Stout for breakfast, is it? But anyway, there's some spill on the back. Nitro Broken Dream has arrived. An indulgence of chocolate and specialty malts, our flagship stout is smooth, unctuous and moreish. It's brewed with lactose for balanced sweetness, along with carefully selected coffee. These cans are dosed with nitrogen in line for incredible mouthfeel. Apparently you're supposed to pour hard and fast for the full cascade effect. Drink fresh. Okay. It's interesting. Drink hard. Sorry, pour hard and fast and drink fresh. There you go. Right, so yes, it says that on the can, as you can see. And yeah, so what we'll do is we'll quickly pour this. And apparently, pour it hard. Well, there's no widget in it, but I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to be a widget to be releasing nitrogen, so they maybe added some nitrogen to the as well as CO2. Normally, of course, you don't use nitrogen by itself. It's actually a mixture anyway of CO2 and nitrogen, and it's all to do with different ratios depending on what type of effect you want. So there we go. There's your Nitro Breakfast Stout from Siren. Well, I'm getting malts. So I am. Getting slightly roasted malts, but not particularly dark malts. More of a kind of coffee flavour, not so much of a dark chocolate. And certainly not getting any kind of molasses. So they're not that dark roasted. But there we go. Let's see what it tastes like. Now, surprisingly enough, it's actually not too bad. I think I've done one other Siren review and it didn't go too well, and I ended up taking the label off the can because that's what it is. It's just basically the same can and that has a different label on it each time. So they're the same kind of cans and they just basically put different labels on it depending on what product's going into them. I suppose it's a cost saving exercise rather than having to print all these individual cans, and it also basically means that depending what's selling better and things like that, then of course you can adjust your canning schedule and things like that to suit the orders that you're getting and everything else and the demands there is for different products. So I can understand that from a business point of view. But yeah, it's just a weird thing. Because growing up, I grew up with kind of cans being printed and not having labels on them. Bottles had labels, cans were kind of printed. So there we go. Call me old fashioned. But yeah, let's get back to the beer. It's quite sessionable. It's got more coffee and more of a coffee bitterness. It doesn't have the real darkness. It's actually kind of lighter from that point of view, so it doesn't have the kind of the chocolate element and the kind of chocolate or molasses bitterness. There's a little bit of sweetness there as well. And it's almost, I can understand maybe why they're calling it breakfast, because it's almost like basically kind of a coffee. It's slightly kind of espresso type, and with the sweetness and all that, it's just like kind of more like a kind of a morning coffee rather than a stout to a certain degree. But it's actually not too bad, and it's very easy to drink. But it is quite sweet. For a stout, it is actually quite sweet. It's not like a milk stout. I don't think it's a milk stout. Nothing to say it's a milk stout, and at 6.5%, I wouldn't say it's a milk stout. But yeah, it is actually quite sweet. But they did say that basically it's brewed with lactose for balanced sweetness. Well, I don't know what they mean by balanced sweetness, because it's quite sweet. So I wouldn't say it's balanced, I'd just say it's actually at the sweeter end of the scale, especially for this type of beer. So let's kind of break the flavours down and see what they're like. Right. At the start it's a bit strange, because there isn't really so much going on at the start. There's a bit of kind of roasted malts there, but they're quite light. There's no kind of real bitterness there. And you're getting a bit of the kind of roasted grains as well. But as a starter for a stout, it's actually quite light and quite mild to start with. Moves on to the mid-tongue, and that's when you start getting the coffee flavours start to ramp up. And they kind of really kind of come from nowhere, but you've still got this malty kind of sweetness really kind of developing, and the kind of mid-tongue, and it stays there right all the way through to the end. The coffee is also kind of really starts to ramp up, but is all the way through to the end, and it starts to get a bit more bitter as it moves along the mid-tongue, going towards the aftertaste, where it becomes more like a kind of espresso bitterness that you're going to get. The grains are just sitting there as a kind of a connector between the sweetness and the coffee building up, because the sweetness is in the mid-tongue and the coffee kind of building up, but not really bringing that much bitterness, but you're getting the kind of coffee kind of flavour and feel to it. It means it's slightly imbalanced, because you've still got this kind of sweetness that's kind of the predominant kind of flavour in the mid-tongue. Moves on to the kind of aftertaste, and yeah. Yeah. The aftertaste does have a bitterness, but again, it's a kind of lighter kind of coffee bitterness, not really kind of like a dark chocolate bitterness. But the sweetness is still there as well, and even though the bitterness does kind of offset the sweetness, it's not enough of a bitterness to really kind of balance out the sweetness, because it is sweeter than you would normally expect from a stout. I'm not saying it's overly sweet, it's not like a milk stout, but for a normal stout it does taste a bit too sweet. It's sweeter than it probably really should be for this type of beer. That is basically, I don't know if they're trying to do it as a milk stout, but at 6.5%, I wouldn't really say so, but it's a bit of a hard one, especially when they call it a breakfast stout, so it's a bit of a hard one. I wouldn't say it's a milk stout, but I wouldn't really say it's a fully fledged kind of normal stout, kind of traditional stout either. I think it kind of sits in the middle between a milk stout and a kind of more traditional stout. And again, the flavour profiles, although they're actually very nice, aren't really indicative of a normal traditional stout because they don't really have that kind of stronger bitterness. But there is a bitterness there, and it's more prevalent than, say, what you'd find in Guinness and things like that. So there is a bitterness to it, and from that point of view, it does kind of give it a little bit more balance, and also gives it a bit more of an interesting finish. The start isn't so great. The mid-tongue is not so bad, and the finish is probably the best part of it. But it is quite drinkable, it's quite sessionable. Now, what would I give this out of 10? Yeah, there's a question. Out of 10, I'm going to give this a 6. I'm going to give it a 6. Am I going to give it a 6? Is it above average? I suppose, yeah, it's something a little bit different. If you don't maybe want something like a full kind of traditional kind of heavier stout, and you don't want to go down the kind of the milk stout route, then I suppose it's kind of something kind of in between. I'm not saying it's going to give you the best of both worlds, but it does give you something that's kind of in between. And from that point of view, I think we'll give it a wee bit extra point for being something a bit different from that point of view. But would I buy it again? I don't know. For the money, I don't get the impression that the ingredients are any better than beers that are sold a lot cheaper. So I'm not kind of tasting this thinking, oh, you can taste the premium ingredients. No, I'm not tasting that. I'm not tasting anything over and above than what's used by quite a lot of other breweries making this kind of type of beer of a stout. And the price of the can for 440ml can, and they want over £3 for it. I can't really turn around and say that's justifiable for that price. I mean, it's an okay beer and that type of stuff, but it's not worth that price. Maybe they think it's special, and maybe their fan boys and girls maybe think it's special, but in the real world, it isn't really that special, to be totally honest, and it's definitely not worth that amount of money for what you're getting. So it's a 6 out of 10. Would I recommend? I would recommend it. Yeah, go and give it a try and that type of stuff. But if it's a bit outside your budget, then I can understand that, and I wouldn't blame you for saying bugger that, I'm not spending that on it. I can understand that, so it's not so bad. So it's 6 out of 10. It's 6.5%. It's a 440ml can. It's over £3 for a can. Thanks for watching. Cheers and bye for now.